Boxing truth here. Joel Saunders is throwing more shade at Chris Eubank Jr., continuing to throw jabs at him, telling him that he's not on his level and he will never be on his level, that he will be nothing more than just a British level fighter, and that if Chris Eubank Jr. wants to rematch with him, he's going to have to do more than fight for a British title and taking on his leftovers and Nick Blackwell. It's a fight that the rematch between Eubank Jr. and Saunders, it's a fight that should happen again. The first fight was very close, very competitive. Honestly, it could have went either way. I watched the fight. Saunders started out well but faded late, and Eubank Jr. he finished the fight stronger. He finished the fight stronger and won the last round real big. You could argue that Eubank Jr. won the fight. You could argue Joel Saunders won the fight. And Saunders won by the skin of his teeth. It was a split decision win. And Saunders has gone on to become a champion, while Eubank Jr. has yet to fight for a world title, in a legit world title, not some interim belt. And he continues to stay at the British level. He's been fighting guys like Spike O'Sullivan, and now he's going to fight Nick Blackwell this Saturday. In a fight, I believe he'll win because he brings more to the table athletically in the ring than Nick Blackwell. Be a good action fight, but if he gets past Blackwell, it's got to be on to bigger and better things. No more British level. It's time to take on some world-class opponents. Joel Saunders, the performance against Lee, his title-winning performance, it was disappointing. He should have knocked Andy Lee out. He knocked him down twice, had him in deep trouble. Looked like he could have got him out of there, but he just didn't step on the gas pedal. He just let Lee off the hook, and for the remainder of the rounds, we're pretty much just staring and looking at each other. Both of them not very active with their hands. It wasn't the best performance by Joel Saunders. He should have did more than that. He did win the fight, but he let Lee get back into the fight because he wasn't being very active with his hands. And it shouldn't have been as close as it should have been. It should have been a wipeout, a knockout victory. But he didn't push on the gas. He let him off the hook, but was still able to get the decision. And now for his first defense, he's taking on an opponent outside the top 10 of the WBO rankings. Pretty much a cherry pick of the top 15 of the WBO rankings for Saunders' title. He's pretty much fighting a guy that he's fighting Jared Fletcher's leftovers, a guy Saunders stopped in 2 rounds. So pretty much a fight designed to make Joel Saunders look good. It's scheduled for April 30th in London, and then he can move on to bigger and better things once he gets past Bursak. Now, that's the interesting thing about Saunders' career. After this first defense of his title, which is pretty much a gimme defense, he's got a lot of options on the table, and he knows that. He's a wanted man in the middleweight division. Golovkin wants his strap. It seems like Danny Jacobs has expressed interest in fighting him for a possible summer showdown. Eubank Jr. rematch is also there. He's also said that he's been in discussions with Canelo this year for perhaps a bout in September. So Saunders has a lot of options, and you would think he would go for the biggest prize. Obviously, I don't think the fight with Canelo is gonna happen. Maybe there have been discussions, but Saunders doesn't bring the type of style that's really going to excite Canelo's team into matching him with him, because Saunders, he has a difficult style. I mean, out of all the top middleweights at 160, who do you think gives Golovkin the toughest fight? In my opinion, at the very in the top 10 of the middleweight division, who gives Triple G the toughest fight? In my opinion, is Billy Joe Saunders. Saunders, he can fight. He's not a bad fighter. He's a pretty good fighter. I've been watching some of his fights. I mean, he's a slick guy, southpaw. He's got some speed. He's got good footwork. He's got boxing ability. He can let his hands go. He didn't do much against Andy Lee. He should have let his hands go more. But he's shown in some performances that, he can really box. He could really make it difficult for opponents to touch him cleanly on a consistent basis. So out of everybody in the middleweight division, I believe Billy Joe Saunders presents the toughest test for Golovkin, just simply based on the styles, because Daniel Jacobs has the power. He doesn't have the chin, though. I think Jacobs gets iced by Golovkin within 5 rounds. Canelo, he doesn't throw enough punches, and he's not in good enough condition to defeat Golovkin. And he hasn't fought a guy like that in his career. He's never fought a legitimate, strong middleweight like Golovkin. So it'll be a totally new experience to Canelo. So I don't think he has what it takes to beat Golovkin. But it'll be a good fight for however long it lasts. The styles meshing together with the fight. Who else? Chris Eubank Jr. Between Saunders and Eubank Jr., I'd rather see Eubank Jr. fight Golovkin, because it will be a great action fight. Eubank Jr. will come in there and try to knock Golovkin's head off. He's a fighter that throws a lot of punches with murderous intent, bad intentions. Eubank Jr. is my type of fighter. However, he has deficiencies defensively. Can be caught in between counters and between punches. He hasn't shown the best chin in the world. He's been rocked in fights. He got rocked in his last fight against Spike O'Sullivan. I mean, he dominated the fight mostly, but he got caught a little too much with counters and left hooks, and he got rocked a couple times in the fight. So that's the only thing about that fight. Eubank Jr. will come to fight. He'll give it a go. He'll give everything he's got, and he will really try to go in there and knock out Golovkin. But he's got major holes in his game defensively. So right now, I don't think he could beat Golovkin. But for Saunders' options for his next fight, if he gets past Bursak in April, I'm not sure what's his biggest money fight out there, to be honest. People will assume it's Golovkin, sure. I think it is Golovkin. I mean, if Canelo fights him, maybe Canelo in the States, because Canelo has stated that he's wanted to perhaps fight on the East Coast in New York someday, test out his market in New York City. Maybe Billy Joe Saunders will be that opponent in New York. But I really doubt Canelo's team will put him in there with a style like Saunders. It could be problematic. I'm not too sure how true Billy is about perhaps a potential fight with Canelo in September. And also, Jacobs and Saunders, there's also discussions about that fight that's being rumored for perhaps in the summer. So Billy Joe is a wanted man. He could perhaps take a fight with Jacobs in July. He could perhaps take a fight with Golovkin, which will be a big money fight, either in the States or in the UK. Or he could fight Chris Eubank Jr. in a rematch, which is also highly demanded in the UK. It'll be a big fight in the UK. That's another money fight for Saunders. And I believe it's a fight that should happen, because it was a close fight. Very competitive. But for whatever reason, that fight's been very hard to make. Frank Warren's been stating that these guys Eubank Jr.'s team, then Eubank, they don't want the fight. It's just smoke and mirrors. And that every time they send over they send over contracts for them to get signed, their lawyers always come back empty-handed. And Billy Joe Saunders, he's been shitting on Eubank Jr., saying that he's only a British level fighter, that he's not confident enough to take the next step to world level and challenge for a world title, pointing to the fact that Eubank Jr. has opted to fight for a British title and not going after a fight with Danny Jacobs. And a lot of people in boxing are also surprised that why is he fighting for a British title when a world title shot is right on. He's right at the doorstep of a world title shot. And Billy Joe Saunders questions his confidence, thinks that, and he believes he will never win a world title. He's said that a lot lately. He's that he's not at that level. He will never win a world title. But I don't know. Maybe y'all can tell me. Maybe my UK viewers can tell me, which is the biggest fight out there for Saunders. Is it Golovkin in the UK? Is it a Eubank Jr. rematch in the UK? A lot of options, but Golovkin, he doesn't believe Saunders is being serious though. Believes that his call-outs are smoke and mirrors. He's just pretty much using his name to promote his next fight. So he's not taking Saunders' offer for a summer fight seriously, considering Saunders has already turned down a lucrative sum of money to fight Golovkin for April. So still nowhere to know what was the offer. I'm hearing as high as a $2.5 million he turned down to fight Golovkin. But Saunders, he's in a good position right now. He's going to get a defense in against a very beatable opponent. He's got a lot of options on the table. I mean, he could go after Danny Jacobs in a winnable fight. I'd probably favor Saunders over Jacobs. That's an interesting fight. Not, because Saunders he's shown some toughness in fights. He could take some big punches. He got hit with some shots against Eubank Jr. Took him. He's a gypsy. Tyson Fury backs Saunders to beat Golovkin if they was to fight. Honestly, I think stylistically that's the toughest fight out there for Golovkin at middleweight. And I think he's live against anybody, against Canelo, against Danny Jacobs, obviously against Eubank Jr. in a rematch. And Golovkin, that fight will be interesting, but I just don't. The only thing about that fight, I just don't think Saunders has the firepower to really make Golovkin worry about anything. He has the skill, the boxing ability to make it difficult, but does he have the power to make Golovkin respect him? That's the big question. And I think that will be the major difference of the fight. And against Eubank Jr., that fight's a 50-50 fight. I'll be rooting for Eubank Jr. to win that fight because I'm a fan of Eubank Jr. I like his style. I like his fighting ability. I like his personality. I like the way he comes to fight. And I felt, he was he could have got the decision against Saunders the first fight, but he needs to start out faster if he gets the rematch. And he also needs to step up already. He's still at the British level. He's got to stop fighting British level guys and go on to the world level after Nick Blackwell, who I expect he will beat this Saturday. But I want to see either a Billy Joe Saunders rematch or a fight with Danny Jacobs. Push for that fight since he's still the number 2 rated contender in the WBA. But y'all let me know what y'all think. Who would you like Saunders to fight next after Bursak? And do you think He's the most difficult opponent for Golovkin at middleweight. This is boxing truth. I'm out.